Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you 3 tips to help you take your tanks to the next level. In this video, I'm going to be covering 3 simple things to do to your tanks at the end of your paint job to just make them a little bit more realistic, make them blend into the scenery a little bit more, and make them have that kind of war-torn feel. So stick around and enjoy the tips. Okay guys, this is the tank that I'm going to be using to show you guys some extra techniques. If you like the look at this Sons of Horus Rhino and want to know how I got it up to this stage, there'll be a link at the top of the screen now which will take you to a video which will show you exactly how I did it. Now, for me, my Horus Heresy armies are all going to be based around the siege. I want them to look war-torn and battered and chipped and all of those good, glorious things that really add character to a tank. So I'm going to show you in this video how to add a little bit of damage to your tanks or some weathering and stuff like that. The first thing we're going to do is bullet holes. So I'm going to show you guys how to put bullet holes in your tank. It's actually quite a simple technique. First thing you need to do is decide what kind of bullet holes you want and how you want to place them. So I always like to go for like a tracer line of bullets, so not just a single bullet hole in one place. I find that quite boring. I like to imagine that somebody strafed the gun across the tank, so there's going to be 3, 4, 5 holes all in a line across the tank. So I decided that this is obviously a Rhino. It's going to be trying to deliver troops to the heart of the battle, so it's going to be shot at in the front quite a lot. So I went all brave, and I'm going to put 4 bolt rounds across the front of the hole. So first hole straight in, second, third, and fourth. So these are the bolt holes that I'm going to use to add that weathering. So it's 4 nice clean round holes as it is. And to make them look more like bolt holes and damage, all you need to do is take a sharp scalpel. I'm going to be brutally honest. The scalpel that I'm currently using in this shot is too dull. And after I turned off the camera, I had to switch blades, get a much sharper one to get the kind of depth of cuts that you need for this effect to look good. So once you have a nice sharp thing, you just put the tip in the hole and you push down as hard as you can and basically create grooves. Once you have created those kind of damaged portions all around the circle, you just add a little bit of dark weathering powder, any kind of weathering powder that suits you. Dab it over the hole just to simulate the idea that a round has exploded across the hole. So a bolt round has hit, has gone off, left a little bit of burn detail across the hole. And there you have it, 4 perfect bolt holes. Nothing crazy, 2 tools and a bit of pigment powder. You could substitute the pigment powder for your black paint if you don't have any pigments. But I just like the subtlety of the pigment powders. The next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of chipping damage. Anyone who's been watching my videos since the start will know that I love this technique and I use it on a lot of things. So I'm just going to show it here just to keep all of this information in one video. So it's a simple sponge technique. So I'm going to stipple the tank with a sponge to create chips. I'm going to start with black and then I'm going to do silver over the top of that. My first couple of passes with the sponge usually won't transfer a lot of paint because I don't want to put big splodges of black in. So I add a little bit and then a little bit more and a little bit more until I start to see the kind of transfer that I want to see across the whole of the tank. So as you can see, there's a few chips across the bumper there. This is what most people would like. I like going a little bit heavier than this, so I'm going to cut away and add the kind of weathering that I like to see on a tank. Nice bit of chipping damage. Like I said, this Rhino has been driving up to the walls of the Imperial Palace and getting absolutely bombarded along the way. So it's going to be chipped and damaged to no end. So once the black parts are all stippled in, it's time to do exactly the same thing, but we're now going to move on to silver paint. We're going to stipple this in the concentrations of the most kind of black areas. So all of the sharper edges where chips and damage are going to happen the most, especially around the front of this tank, like I said, as it is a thing driving towards the enemy. You can also use the silver on the sponge to add a tiny bit of edge highlighting. You just scrape it along edges and we'll chip and scrape it. I like to go in the direction the tank is moving. So as you see, I hit that front bumper there. I'm going to follow it on with the bottom bit. Just a few quick passes and it leaves those streaks of scratched silver across, which is how that damage would be as it kind of bulges its way through boulders and wreckage and other debris on the battlefield to get to its target. That's 2 effects down. It's time to move on to the third effect, which is just some weathering powder. Now a little bit more thought goes into weathering powder than you think. So for instance, this is the Sons of Horus Marines that my tank goes to. And as you can see, they're based in a Martian scheme, so that red sand. So I want the weathering powder on the tank to match this. So I've gotten some rust powder from Humbrol, and I'm going to use this to apply that to the tank. And all you do is literally load up your brush and stipple the brush onto the tank in the areas where you think weathering powder would settle. So any like grooves, any nooks, any crannies. I managed to do an absolutely magical thing, which I only noticed when I was editing this video, is that I managed to show this entire process without once showing you a brush with weathering powder touching a model. Don't ask me how I managed to do this absolute feat of painting, but yeah, it wasn't quite the show and tell I wanted it to be. But it's not that hard. Like I said, all you do is load up your brush with some of the weathering powder and apply it to the tank in areas that dust and debris is going to build up. So nooks and crannies, those side skirts there where the Marines are going to be standing on. I went for all across the top of the back hatch. The reason to do the top of the back hatch is as the top hatch opens, it's going to smash down into the dirt. Obviously get dusty and dirty and stuff like that. Anywhere where hatches open and close, I like all those grooves and stuff. I like to add a little bit of weathering powder too. And basically anywhere where it would be hard to get an L dust brush in, it's where the dust is going to settle the worst and cause the tank to look kind of dirty. And with the weathering powder applied, that brings the 3 tips to take your tanks to the next level complete. This isn't going to be for everybody. Obviously, some people will much prefer the pristine looking Rhino at the beginning of the video. Maybe you're a Great Crusade era army or the very beginning of the war. Therefore, you're going to look after your gear a little bit better. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Whatever takes your fancy, you can use 1, 2, or 3 of these effects, or in fact, none. It's totally up to you. But I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching the video. Okay guys, as you can see, we took our Rhino, which was painted, I think, quite well at the beginning of the video, and added some weathering, some battle damage, and some chipping to that vehicle. So for me personally, I'm going to be basing my Horus Heresy Legions from the siege, so the very end of the war. Everyone is battered, everyone is bruised, every piece of equipment has been repaired a dozen times over, you know, panels replaced, all that kind of stuff. There's no time for proper maintenance, cleaning, polishing, repainting, any of that stuff. So my vehicles and my Marines are going to look something like this toward the end of my project. I hope you guys have learned a few bits and pieces about weathering your tanks in this video. If you did and you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you already are not. And every person that subscribed is a big help to me and the growth of the channel. And if you have any questions about anything that I did in this video or any other video, put it in the comments below. I do get back to absolutely everybody who comments to me. And if you see real value in what I do and want to support me, keeping the lights on and making more awesome videos, there's links to things like my Patreon below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.